When a doctor monitors the health of her patients, she measures vital signs: blood pressure, temperature, pulse rate. Similarly, when we wish to evaluate the health of the economy, we look at certain vital signs: the unemployment rate, inflation rate, and perhaps the most important, the growth rate of gross domestic product, usually called GDP. GDP is the market value of all final goods and services produced in a country during a given period of time, usually 1 year. A way to look at the health of a patient is to monitor the activity of the heart. One way to measure this is by an electrocardiogram, or EKG. An EKG readout shows how the heart is beating and how regular it is. Measuring the real gross domestic product over time gives us an idea of the health of the economy. There are several ways to do this. We can look at nominal GDP. We can take out the effects of inflation and look at real GDP. We can divide real GDP by the population to get real GDP per capita. We can look at the growth rate in real GDP. Each method tells us different things, but the growth rate in real or per capita real GDP probably tells us the most about our nation's health. Many economists and businesses keep an eye on real GDP to watch trends in our economy. In fact, one definition of a recession is a period of 6 months or more of negative real GDP growth. This would typically occur in the downward portion of a business cycle. Analysts also watch for real GDP declines to stabilize and then begin to rise again, signaling the beginning of an economic recovery. Real GDP is important because larger real GDP helps us to have a better life. But just as a good EKG readout is not a perfect measure of a healthy heart, real GDP is not a perfect measure of well-being. For example, real GDP does not measure the value of leisure, the value of goods and services produced and used in the home, or the quality of the environment. Although it's imperfect, real GDP does indicate a standard of living. Which of these countries do you feel have a higher quality of life? Why?